Want to start today with some breaking news. A former Dallas Cowboys executive and a Hall of Fame member has died. We're talking about Gil Brandt. He was the vice president of player personnel for the team for 28 years. He's credited with the drafting of stars like Roger Staubach and undrafted pickups of Drew Pearson and Cliff Harris. Owner Jerry Jones described Brandt as a pioneer of the sport who cemented his spot in the Ring of Honor and then the Hall. Gil Brandt died this morning at the age of 91. I want to bring in our colleague Keith Russell here, talk a little bit more about Gil. You covered his enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. For younger fans, help us sort of put into perspective his legacy and also the impact that he had, Keith, really not only on just the Cowboys, but pro football.
Ken, you can't describe the magnitude of what he was able to bring to the game of football. His loss is not just felt today by the Dallas Cowboys. It's felt by the entire NFL. It's felt by football fans everywhere. It's felt by me as I sit here talking to you. Gil Brandt, for people who don't know, he was the guy who measured what players could do without a football in their hands. We know about the NFL Combine. That's where the players go and do all these testing drills, and that's how it's determined how high they're going to get drafted. Gil Brandt, he invented that. Gil Brandt was the first executive and scout to use computers to measure a player's speed, how fast they could run, how much they could lift, how high they could jump, what they could do as you projected that athletic ability onto the football field. He drafted Hall of Famers that didn't even play football. Rayfield Wright played basketball. Drew Pearson was a baseball player. Bob Hayes, I'm naming all Hall of Famers. He was the fastest man in the world. He was a track star, and he came from a historically black college. Gil Brandt drafted him. He's in the Hall of Fame as a wide receiver. Gil Brandt, he took players like Cliff Harris. Cliff Harris and Drew Pearson, both undrafted, went into the Hall of Fame a couple years ago. Gil Brandt is in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he knew things about football way before all the analytics, as we like to call it. But when you think about the Cowboys, there are two Cowboys teams and two Cowboys eras, Ken, that people often confuse. There's the 90s with Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith. There's the 70s with Roger Staubach and the boys. They won the first two Super Bowl titles for the Cowboys. Aikman and the boys won the next three. That was what Gil Brandt brought to the game of football. He became the guy as the architect of America's team. And this shocks everyone. I just got off the phone with Drew Pearson. He just did a Zoom with me. He's heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. The football world is heartbroken. Let's hear what Drew had to say.
I can't call him up and say, Gil, what about this guy? Gil, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? So the real missing is really going to start now. And when I first heard the news, it brought tears to my eyes. And that's how much I love Gil Brandt. That's how much I respect Gil Brandt. And that's how much I'm going to miss Gil Brandt. And even though 91 years of life is a long time, but with Gil Brandt, 91 years is still gone too soon, because I know in his passing, he's still got a lot of knowledge up in that head. He knows all more about Drew Pearson still to this day than probably Drew Pearson knows.
When you hear, Keith, the way that Drew talks about him, the way you talk about him, and everybody who knew him, you get the sense that this guy was just, Mr. Brandt was just larger than life in so many ways. Then you look at the pictures in the Hall of Fame, it really brings to light and into focus just how huge the impact that he had on the NFL was.
You saw that picture with Roger Staubach, who is arguably, the greatest Cowboys quarterback of all time. You saw that picture, in that same picture, Drew Pearson, undrafted, Hall of Fame. Cliff Harris, undrafted, Hall of Fame. We know Rodgers in the Hall of Fame. Gil Brandt's in the Hall of Fame. One of them was in a wheelchair, and that was Gil Brandt. but his dedication to the game allowed him to roll himself into AT&T Stadium's press box each and every Sunday because he cared that much about the Dallas Cowboys and the game of football.
I like the way you put it earlier. If there was a Mount Rushmore of Cowboys, he'd be on it.
Tex Schramm, Tom Landry, in no particular order, Gil Brandt, obviously Jerry Jones now. But Gil Brandt, he helped create the Cowboys being the America's team we know today.
Keith, thank you very much for that perspective. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, the Pro Football Hall of Fame tweeted about the passing of Gil Brandt as well. I want to show that to you. They noted that his work, which revolutionized, as you just heard, how NFL teams scout and evaluate their players, led the Dallas Cowboys to become one of America's sports franchises, including those 2 Super Bowl championships early on. We're going to have a lot more about Gil Brandt's legacy later on, and that starts at 4 p.m. right here on CBS News Texas.